Thanks, Chris. If I can just follow Chris and extend my welcome, and on behalf of Keely and Rosie, our students, to everybody who's come along to listen to the presentation today. Really good to hear that there's somebody from Birmingham, my hometown. Always good to find another Brummie. Right, what I'm going to talk to you about today is really what we can offer as regards accommodation at the university. Starting university is a really exciting stage of life. I can remember doing it far too many years ago. But lots of apprehension. It's new, it's exciting, but you're moving possibly for the first time away from home into accommodation. You'll be meeting new people, doing new things, and really what we try and do with our accommodation provision is to make that as easy and as comfortable for you, because it's our job really to make sure that you're able to study, but also that you get the experience of life that university can offer. So firstly, what I can say is with the accommodation, we guarantee you a place in university owned and managed accommodation. Basically, what that means is as long as you put Chichester as your first choice and get your application in by UCAS closing in January, I believe, then we guarantee you accommodation. Now, we have accommodation both on the campuses. We have two campuses, one in Chichester and one in Bognor. And we also have accommodation within Chichester City itself. I will be talking about those later in the presentation, but any questions you've got, if you just put them into your chat box and Chris can feed them over to me. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, and this shouldn't take probably much more than 10 minutes or so, is the nitty-gritty. In other words, how much does it all cost, what our halls are like and where they are. The accommodation team, I'm one of the team, and my role is the allocations officer. So I'm actually the person responsible for putting students into the variety of halls that we have. What sort of support and security is available, as well as peer support and the well-being service that we offer. A little bit about applying for halls, and then any questions that you may have. Okay, so this is the bit that either yourself or possibly your parents would be interested in. Our halls work on the idea of a fixed term contract, 38 weeks, that run usually from mid-September to the beginning of June the following year. We are very transparent about the costs. The costs are all up front, and we do benchmarking exercises with our neighbouring universities in places like Southampton, Portsmouth and Brighton to ensure that the cost is very fair. What we offer is two types of halls in essence. We have catered halls, and catered halls are the halls that come with the meal package attached. And this amounts to just under £50 a week, which can be spent in any of the university cafeterias, restaurants or food provision services. And the costs there go from just over 6,000 to 6,732 a year. Now that's this year, so there may well be a cost increase next year. That's yet to be decided, but if it is only usually a very small percentage point. The self-catered halls are really what it's self-descriptive really. They are halls that you would cater for yourself. So all our halls have kitchens, but the self-catered halls often will have a larger kitchen and a dining room facility usually attached to the kitchen. And those costs come from between just under 4,500 to 5,785. Now, of course, students in self-catered halls can use the catering facilities on campuses. There's no problem with that at all, and you just pay for food as you take it. Now, all of our prices include all the utility costs, so there's no cost for electricity, for light, anything of that nature. There is also wired and Wi-Fi internet provided in all rooms free of charge, and there's a basic contents insurance provided by Ensley Insurance. So as long as you're bringing your basic stuff, and the basic contents insurance will cover you things like laptops. But if you're looking at bringing high value items, then it might be worth just having a chat with us. There is no deposit payable. So at the moment, what the price is, what is the price that you see there is the price that you pay. There is no deposit to pay beforehand. There is no booking fee. The majority of our accommodation is self-catered. And the other thing to bear in mind is I did mention about the 38-week license agreement terms, but students who are on the teacher training course, because of the length of the courses, their contracts are 40 to 42 weeks. And the accommodation for those students is either at the Bognor Regis campus, shortened to BRC, or at the self-catered halls that we have in Chichester City at Stockbridge and Fishbourne. And they cost from 6,378. It's worth mentioning also that if a student is on a course in Bognor but based at Chichester, there is a free bus service provided for all students between the two campuses. Okay, the accommodation. We have, as I mentioned earlier, two campuses. We've got the Bishop Otter campus, which is a campus in Chichester, and we have the Bognor Regis campus, a campus in Bognor. The Bognor Regis campus, we provide catered accommodation, and we have both ensuite accommodation and we have shared facility. Shared facility accommodation basically means you have your own private room with a wash basin, but the bathroom facilities and the toilets are shared. Usually between 6 people as a maximum. In some of our halls, it's a much better ratio than that. The Bishop Otter campus, we do catered accommodation and self-catered accommodation. We do shared facility rooms and we do ensuite rooms. Okay, so those are the two campuses. The campuses are about 7 miles apart, and as I mentioned, there is the free bus service between the two campuses. We have also accommodation within Chichester City. Our biggest collection of accommodation is at the Stockbridge Student Village. This is just over 400 rooms divided into 5 blocks. And the blocks are then divided into corridors, and each corridor has between 4 and 7 rooms, and those 4 and 7 rooms are like a flat in effect, each with their own kitchen. All of the rooms at Stockbridge are en suite. So it's a nice area. It's down by the railway station in Chichester, easy access to public transport, and by the Chichester sort of entertainment hub with the cinema and the bowling alley and various restaurants and the like. Okay, and then we come to Fishbourne halls. These are our newest halls. These are on the west of the city. This is about a 25-minute walk from the campus. Stockbridge is about a 20-minute walk. And these are also all self-catered ensuite rooms and on the free bus service between the two campuses. Fishbourne is great. It's got a wonderful lounge area. It has a cinema room. It has cycle sheds, as you can see. All of our accommodation has access to cycle sheds, laundry. It proves to be very popular amongst our student population. Okay. So this is our team. You would get to know these. There I am down at the bottom.
They introduce you to the whole team, Brian.
And then we also have Amy. Amy is my the other member of staff that I share the allocations with. And then the other members of staff that you can see on here are staff that are based at the various complexes. So we always have an accommodation manager based at Fishbourne, Stockbridge, Bognor and Chichester. And then there's Joe, who's the accommodation manager based up at Chichester. Okay. One of the concerns primarily of students and certainly often of parents is the support and security that we can offer for students. So this gives you a little insight into what's on offer. So the accommodation office itself, they're open between 8 and 5 p.m. and it's where I'm speaking from today to you. And then the accommodation officers are based in those offices, but there's also an on-call service from 6 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. We have staff wardens who are available on the two campuses. They're available 3 days a week. We have duty managers, and they're available for the night periods, 7 days a week. And we also have security on during the night at Monday to Friday, and at weekends they're available 24 hours. So no matter what time of day it is, you're always able to get hold of a member of staff or the security team, because we appreciate that people might feel homesick, might have concerns, might have worries, and it's good that we're able to offer this service where you can always make contact with us. In addition to that, we have welcome reps. These are existing students, normally in their second and third years, and they provide sort of a shoulder, really, I suppose, for the first 8 to 10 weeks. So again, if you've got any worries, feeling a bit homesick, not sure where anything is, not sure what to do, where to go, who to speak to, they're there to help you along that period. And they provide a tremendous service, and that's assigned or rather are provided by the student union, and there are student union hubs both on both the main campuses, Chichester and Bognor. There's also lots of events that go on to help you settle in. We're hoping that next year will be a slightly more regular year than this year has been. But they will try and encourage you to go to events and basically become part of the university community. It's not a big university, Chichester, but it's one that's very community based, and we think of ourselves as quite a close community, and we're all here to help you engage with that. There's also a wellbeing team. This is what our student support service. So they provide pop-ups where, again, if you've got any worries, concerns, anything at all, you can go along and speak to them, again, at both campuses. You can either book an appointment or just do a drop-in, and they're there to provide that support for you. Okay, applying for halls. The application process, I think, first of all, what I'd like to do is direct you. Please have a look at the accommodation pages on the university website. It's a whole mindful of information, giving you information about the application process, giving you virtual tours of the halls, costs. It's so much information. It really is definitely worth your visit. But the way it works in essence is the accommodation portal is open between mid-May and mid-June. So you can't apply for accommodation before that period. And in block capitals there you can see no need to rush. It's not a first come first served basis. Basically all the applications come in and then we deal with the allocations after that period. When you do your applications, what you'll be asked for is 6 preferences of the types of accommodation, and it's types, not specific. So we wouldn't ask you to, for example, pick Amberley Hall. What you would pick in that case is self-catered ensuite Chichester. It's 6 for the majority of students. It's 3 for teaching students who are based down at Bognor. If you have any special needs as regards housing, what you need to do is make contact with our student support services, and they will just see whether the needs require you to have priority accommodation. So we can give you more details about what you need to do if you feel that's the case applying to you. And then around about the very end of July, 1st of August, we send out the room offers, and then you have 7 days to, we hope, accept or decline that offer. It's a fairly straightforward process, but as I say, if you can take a couple of things away from this screen, one is go and look at the accommodation pages. and the no need to rush. Your application needs to go in between mid-May and mid-June. It's not first come, first serve. And that's pretty much it, really. And any questions? Anything you want to fire at me? It's gone very quiet.
I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to jump back in here. So it's Chris again. Just maybe it'd be worth us asking our two ambassadors to come on and have a quick chat about their experiences. I've got Keely and Rosie somewhere, who maybe they can give us a quick overview of what they're studying and their experience in accommodation. Keely or Rosie, if you can come on, turn your cameras on and pop your mics on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Cool. Yeah, so hi, I'm Rosie. I'm studying physical education in the secondary years, and I'm in my third year at university. So when I was in my first year as a fresher, I lived in Stockbridge, which is was talked about was off campus, and yeah, I loved being off campus because it kind of meant I could go home somewhere after uni. And the links, it was very close by to train station and the bus station, which is really good well for me when I was going home, which I live in London, so it's really good access that way. And also, yeah, I just love the fact that it's we had our own flat, and yeah, no, I loved it. I loved the access as well to the Chichester retail, or the park behind, which had all the cinema and restaurants, which was, yeah, easy access. And yeah, no, I loved just walking through town on the way to uni, really. So yeah, no, that was my experience.
Over to Keely. I'll let you chat now.
Yeah, so I'm second year. I study music performance, and that's on the Chichester campus. So last year I lived in Ashling Halls 1, which is on campus and is actually pretty much right next to the student union, which was great fun. I could see that from my kitchen and my stairs. That was very convenient for some of my flatmates who were very fond of going to the SU. I really liked being on campus. I was catered as well. I really liked being on campus. I'm the sort of person who doesn't like mornings, so I quite enjoyed rolling out of bed, and basically I kept rolling until I got to my lectures and lessons and stuff. So I found that really convenient. I could get, considering the music department was across the campus from me, I could get there in like 3 minutes if I paced it, which I definitely didn't do as much as I no. But yeah, so I was catered. I still got a full kitchen, even though I was in catered accommodation, which I really enjoyed because I quite like cooking and doing some baking and stuff like that. But by being catered, it just kind of took some of that thought process out. It was a nice stepping stone from going at home where my parents do a lot of the cooking to having been cooked for some of the time, and then now I cook for myself as I'm in private accommodation now. So it was a nice stepping stone. I got to try out new things, but it also meant I could meet up with my friends and just essentially go to the canteen for dinner. Yeah, I think.
Thank you both of you. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's nice to hear from students as well, and you might be able to answer some of the questions as we go through them if they need a student input as well, and obviously I'll pitch them to you guys all as a whole. So I've got the first question here. Is there student parking? One for you, Craig. I think your mic. Oh, that's all right. It's not
Am I back on now?
Yeah, you are.
yes. There is student parking if you're allocated a room at Havenstoke Houses. These are a series of 10 4-roomed houses on the Chichester campus. But there isn't parking for the other halls. Parking is pretty thin on the ground at the university. So unfortunately, no, except at the Havenstoke houses.
Next question we've got is, if you are a deferral student, is the application process different?
It is slightly different. So if you've deferred from this year to next year, you should hear from us in around about February about whether you require accommodation. So just keep your eye peeled for emails around about February.
Brilliant. Next one, I missed about an offer. As we won't know the A-level results until August, do we do this application before this? So do we do our application before the results, basically?
Yes, you do. You don't need to have got your results to apply for accommodation. What you do need to have done is actually accepted your offer to study at Chichester. You need to make Chichester your first choice. So if we're your insurance choice, you wouldn't be able to put an application in for accommodation. So first choice, yes, apply via the portal in May.
Excellent. So next one we've got is, how regularly does the bus go between campus and accommodation?
All the difficult questions. It goes regularly enough to get you to the lectures. It varies if it's during the holidays or if it's during term time. But if you go to the university website and in the search facility, just put bus timetables, it will bring up the timetables for the U7 bus, which is the bus that travels between the two campuses, and that'll give you some idea.
Fantastic. And also in our student information zone, which is our library, they also have interactive TV screens which also show the next buses arriving and bits and pieces as well. So yeah, you won't miss a bus, and you will get a regular bus. Are there any other types of financial support available for accommodation?
Most students will use the student loan. They'll apply for loans by the student loan company or finance, whether it's parents or whatever, or whether a large number of students actually work part-time in the city just to raise funds. There are some bursaries, and if you are interested in taking those up, it would be worth contacting again our student support service, who have a students' money service.
Yeah, definitely. If I can ask, Gabby's in the call, actually one of our staff, she might be able to pop the web address into this box for you as well, so you can find that. Next question we've got is, can part-time students apply for accommodation?
The accommodation is firstly offered to full-time students at the full-time first-year students at the university. If there is availability after we have done that initial allocation, then we may be able to offer students who are on part-time courses accommodation. But primarily we're offering to full-time students to start with.
Excellent, thank you. So another question, do students get priority with regards to where their courses run, i.e. do musical theatre students studying at Bognor Regis campus get priority of that campus?
We will try and ensure that students are on the campus they study, assuming the students have put those applications in their application process. So we will get students who are doing music theatre, for example, which is predominantly the triple threat course, which is predominantly, or entirely really, down at Bognor, but want a self-catered room, which would mean they would have to apply for the Stockbridge or Fishboard. And so it's just ensuring that when you do your application process, you ensure that the accommodation that you pick is on the campus that you will be studying. And it is worth checking with the course administrators to make sure that you've got that clear in your mind.
Brilliant. Next one you might all be able to give a bit of an insight to. So we've got, please can you explain a bit about how many meals catered includes for the money included?
Do you want me to do my little bit?
Yeah, Craig, if you want to go first, and then
Rosie.
Keely and Rosie.
Yeah, so the way it works is a daily allowance. So it works out around about just over £8 a day, Monday to Friday, and I think about £4.15 a day, Saturday and Sunday. But a total for the week of just under £50. So what happens then is you can spend that daily allowance at any of the catering outlets. So it doesn't actually work for a specific number of meals. So if you wanted to buy £8 worth of chocolate muffins, which we wouldn't recommend, you can do that. It's worth remembering also that the money doesn't carry over. So if you don't spend your full allowance, it doesn't carry over to the next day. So just ensure that you do spend the money.
Keely or Rosie, have either of you got experience of being catered?
So I was catered last year. Yeah, so I generally made it work for 2 meals a day. I generally made it do lunch and dinner. I was the sort of person that would either eat something small in the morning or wake up so late I didn't have time for breakfast. But I had like days that I did certain things on. So on a Wednesday I had rehearsals running late, so I actually missed the time that dinner would be. So I'd always make sure I had a bigger lunch that day, and then I'd buy snacks or coffee in the evening. I had this little stash of sweets, because if you've got like 20-30p left of your coaching allowance, they have small sweets that you can buy. So in my room I just had like a drawer that had a pile of sweets from those that I just my way through. But yeah, they've also got so many things that you can take away as well. So there was a day where I was off campus from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. So obviously I wasn't around for food. In the morning I ran into the canteen and got myself some drinks, some snacks, and a pre-packaged wrap, and that sorted me for my breakfast and lunch, and then we had dinner out for fruit. But so you make it work for you. The first couple of weeks are going to be a little bit messy once you get into routine, but then you get your routine and you work out how you're going to do it.
Brilliant, thanks, Keely. Rosie, have you got any experience of catered?
So no, I was off campus, so I obviously wasn't catered for. However, I have used the canteen many a times to buy food. So it's not a restriction if you are off campus that you don't necessarily are able to access the food that you can get at the canteen. Obviously, it just comes out of your own money, but it is quite nice being off campus. You go in and have something to eat for lunch or dinner before you head home back to Stockbridge or Fishbourne. So I used it quite a few times actually, and it is reasonably priced for what you're getting. And it's quite nice not to have to worry about dinner one night as if you were catered for. So yeah, no, I did use it and still do.
Brilliant, thank you. So next question we've got is for disability needs. Who would you contact with for accommodation needs? So what's the best contact for accommodation needs if you have disability needs?
Right. Okay. You need to make contact with our student support services. So is it possible for you to put the contact details on the message board?
We'll get
if you're not sure what to do, you can always email the accommodation team, and we can give you those details. And what will happen in essence is they will speak to you, obviously, and they will do an assessment of your needs. And then if they feel there is the need to prioritise accommodation, or you need a specific type of room, they will then submit that to us, and we will ensure that that's as best we can, that we're able to offer that to you.
Brilliant, thank you. So the next one I've got is, I really don't want to have catered accommodation. Is there a possibility that due to the lottery system, I would have to pay extra for catered and not want to use it?
There is a possibility. We can't make an absolute guarantee unless there is that specific need, again, that would come via student support, that you wouldn't be offered a catered accommodation. But if I can just talk a little bit about pricing, for example. So if we look at a self-catered room on campus, en suite, you're looking about £152 a week this year for the room. And if we looked at a catered en suite, it's about 177. So you're looking about a £25 a week price difference. But the university subsidised the catering, so you actually get £50 a week catering credit to spend, whereas the price difference between the halls is £25 a week. So it's almost doing that little exercise in that, could you cater, if you're in a self-catered hall, for that amount of money? Otherwise, the self-catered hall could end up costing you more than the catered hall because of your self-catered costs. Did that make sense?
I think it did, Craig. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Next one we've got here is, how are the accommodation fees paid for? Is it by term or can you pay monthly?
The accommodation fees are paid for in three amounts. So generally, it's divided up. They take the whole annual fee for the 38 weeks, divided up into three sums of a 40%, 40%, and 20%, and they're paid at the beginning of each semester. So normally it would correspond, if you're on a student loan, to after your student loan has come in. So normally around about the beginning of end of September, beginning of October, end of January, beginning of February, and then just after the Easter vacation, about April.
Brilliant. Next question is the maintenance loan available for EU students?
I'm not sure with what's happening in January. I'm not sure it is the student loan company. I think it would be a case of applying for the loan from the country perhaps where you're coming from.
Yeah, I would echo that. If you have specific finance questions, what I would urge you to do is to visit the Student Finance England website. So pop that into a search engine, and there are some really useful hints, tips, and also contact details on that website. So any specific questions about finance, we would have to direct you to either your own country or like I say, Student Finance England will also be able to give you that information. Next question I've got is, are the buses from campus to halls free?
The bus from Fishbourne to the halls, Fishbourne halls to Chichester and Bognor is free. The bus from Stockbridge is there is a charge for that. It is quite a reasonable rate. I think in the past it's been about 60 pence for a one-way journey. So yeah, from Fishbourne it is. From Stockbridge there is a charge. You could walk from Stockbridge to Fishbourne and pick up the free service. That would be possible. Or you could use the walk as your warm-up for your dance classes.
I can see our student ambassadors nodding there as well about the walk up through town. It's quite a nice walk, isn't it?
It's a very Chichester is a great little city. It's pedestrianised through the city centre, so it's a nice walk.
Next question we've got is there a chance for people with a disability to stay in halls for all 3 years, and how would you apply for that?
Okay, yes, there is. The needs would be assessed at the end of each year, so we'd go through the same process, and if it was felt that the need was still there for you to be in halls, then the priority accommodation would occur.
Next question, I'm going to direct it to our students here. So we've got, are clubs and societies based on a certain campus or a bit of both? Who wants to go first?
So I can go first.
Yeah, go on, Rosie.
I'm part of women's football at the university, and I know we are specifically at the Bishop Hopper campus. But I know some clubs, I'm not sure if it's the same society, but I think they sometimes train in Bognor. But I know mainly it is at Bishop Hopper, because that's where most of the fixtures are for sports teams. They're normally based there when they're at home, and then when they're away, they're obviously at other university campuses. But like we're talking about, the bus services are so easy. If you were to stay in Bognor and still wanted to come to society and the Bishop Hopper, you can still make that trip over. I know people that have done that in the past, so it is doable.
Brilliant, thank you. Keely, did you want to add anything?
So I can't really talk about any of the other sports. I do not play sports at all. I know that there are some that are mainly based over in Bognor and some are based over in Chichester. But if you're looking at, say, the music and stuff, as that's what I spend all my time doing, all the orchestras and stuff, because our music department is based over in Chichester, we do have all of those rehearsals over there. And I think the Music Theatre Society is mainly based over in Chichester, because all but one of their courses are based over in Chichester as well. So that's just depending on where the facilities are. But again, there's the free bus, and I do know a couple of people who do come from Bognor for rehearsals, and they get the bus, and like sometimes they run off like 5 minutes beforehand just so that they can go get the bus. So the bus is the really useful bit.
Yeah, definitely. I would echo that. So you have those transport links there, and it's really useful. We find a lot of people will come up from our Bognor campus to join the sports teams and for the fixtures. I know some of the student ambassadors we previously had were teaching students, but they were always up on the Chichester campus to play rugby, to play football, those sorts of things as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of opportunities no matter what campus you're on. Another question here: can you view the catered menus before deciding on accommodation?
The menus change very frequently, so it's not really reoccurring. What I can say is there is a very good range of food that's provided. They're very adept at providing food for a variety of diets. So if you're gluten-free, if you're lactose intolerant, vegetarian and vegan, there are options always available. And then before you arrive, if you've been allocated into a catering hall, we would send you a form that you can send back to catering, just listing any dietary requirements that you may have. And you could always email the catering department and just ask them. But the menus change very frequently, and they do sort of food from all over around the world, and a great choice.
Yeah, definitely. It's always changing. They're always trying new things as well, which is really good. Another question here: so, would you recommend renting parking spaces to allow people to use their personal cars to travel to work?
Parking in Chichester is not the easiest. There is very little street parking in the city. Most of it is parking regulated. So, my honest feeling is try to avoid bringing a car. It's because parking isn't easy within the city. I don't know if I can add anything other than that.
No, I think that probably is is true. Got a couple more, I think, before we finish. So I've got a campus tour tomorrow. Will I be able to view accommodation?
Which campus are you going to? Do you know?
It doesn't say, but if the person who's asked that question, 19 Samudzi, if they wanted to put that what campus they're on down, then we might be able to work that out. We'll come back to that.
It may well be, as most students have gone home for the Christmas period. Most of the accommodation is empty. We obviously wouldn't be able to show you a room that has student belongings in, but if when you arrive at your campus tour, just pop into the accommodation office on whichever campus you're on, and if it's available, we'll be able to show you a room. It's likely that we will be able to show you every type of room that's available. But if you've got any other questions, it's often quite good to be able to ask those questions face to face. So just pop into the accommodation office when you're on your campus tour.
Yeah, definitely. So my team coordinate the campus tours, and just ask the ambassador. So as soon as you get there and your ambassador meets you to give you the tour, just ask them. Just say, I was on the webinar yesterday, and I'd really like to pop into the accommodation office, and someone will be able to help you there. So that's brilliant. Someone's just put down, I have had a look at student loans, but it doesn't give you an exact number. Are you likely to be able to afford some accommodation, or is there a lot of work through a job needed to support this while studying? Can probably answer that as well, really, because I do a lot of talks on student finance. By no means will anyone tell you that the maintenance loan will cover everything you need at university. There is going to be obviously input from you in terms of a job. There's going to be input from you in terms of maybe parents helping you and stuff. There will be other financial input needed. So yeah, a maintenance loan will not cover everything in terms of accommodation. If I have a disabled badge, does that mean I would be able to have my car on campus? And how easy is disabled parking in Chichester?
Yes, and it is.
Brilliant. Yeah. So yes, you are able to park with a disabled badge. And Chichester, in terms of the city, it is like any other place. There's lots of provided parking for disabled badges and bits and pieces in all of the community car parks and bits and pieces as well. How do you book a campus tour? How do you book a campus and accommodation tour? Gabby has popped in the chat the link to that, so you can click on that and it will take you through to the right page. All I would urge you to do is when you're booking a campus tour, just check that you're booking for the right campus for the course that you're interested in, just so that we allocate you an ambassador on the right campus. And she's also put, yep, we're running them daily as mentioned. So yeah, just pop onto that and it'll give you the next lot of availability. I think we are, yeah, at the end of our questions, unless there are any others that people want to pop in last couple of minutes before we say goodbye and sign off. Any other questions? Is there enough accommodation for everyone who applies?
There is, yes, for all our first year students. Can I also just add that if you do suddenly think of questions, you can contact the allocation officers, that's myself and Amy. And can I ask Chris that you just put the allocations email address somewhere on the list, which is allocations@chi.ac.uk. Or you can give us a call and we can with any questions that you might have and we can chat to you. But that's not a problem at all. And again, my final urging, look at the accommodation pages on the website. They're a complete mine of information.
Definitely. Oh, we've got one final question before I can see one just suddenly popped in. If you're doing the triple threat course, do you have to be based at Bognor Regis campus, even though you don't want to be catered?
No, you can put your choices. You could, when you choose your accommodation, with the exception of teaching, which needs the 40-week course, you can apply for accommodation anywhere on the campuses. Just bear in mind a couple of things, really. Just bear in mind that there would be the bus journey involved, but also it could be that the majority of your peers doing the triple threat course will be down at the Bognor campus, and also in the library. That's where the majority of, for example, the triple threat resources are all held. So you would be on accommodation away from your fellow course mates and the main resources. So we do recommend, if you can, applying for the accommodation on the campus that your course is.
Brilliant, thanks, Craig. If there's no other questions, I'll just check that none of our ambassadors want to add anything else from their experience before we finish. Nope, nodding of heads, that's good, that's good. And as we've said, we've popped some different contact details in the chat there, so if you do have questions that you want to send us in, then please do get in touch. You can call, obviously, the main reception, and they will also give you different contact details for different teams, but we are here to help you, and we are here to kind of guide you through this myriad of choices as you go through to obviously getting to university, so please do use the support that's available. Just goes without saying, thank you very much for joining us today. It's great to have seen so many people online, and just like to say, have a great Christmas break and take care.
Yeah, and from me.